everybody, it's Cody, Dixon RC here with week 4 of the budget build competition. This one's going to be a big one. It's time to do electronics, or some of the electronics, and a couple of other things as well that kind of will help with that also. Another thing we're going to address is the plastic hexes on this one. I should have done that first, to be honest, when I did bead locks. Didn't really realize it. So when you put metal bead locks on this truck with these plastic hexes and you tighten down the nut to where you think it should be tight enough to where it won't come loose, it binds up the truck. So what happens is you got all 4 tight and you go, it's going to be very lurchy, I guess is the best word to say it, because it's kind of like it's run, 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 and that's what it was doing. So I'm going to fix that. I'm going to put... probably going to start out with these Integi, however you call it, 8mm brass hexes. I don't know if I'm going to keep these because 8mm kind of pushes the tire out quite a bit. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. It may wind up working. I don't know. We'll know. But all I know is it works. You change these plastic ones to metal. You can crank down on the wheel nut and it's going to stay tight, and it's not going to make it bind in theory. So I said we're going to do electronics this week. So what we're actually going to do is install a Hobbywing Fusion Pro. Only reason why we're going to go with the Pro is the SE is not available. I was going to do the SE, but because I figured that kind of fits the budget side of things. But we've stockpiled some money throughout the past couple weeks, so we got it to spend. Might as well put the good one in there and get the wheel speed, which is what we'll get with the 2300 kV setup. The great thing about this too as well is it puts even more weight to the front. You get rid of the ESC on the side plate, on that little side plate over there. Plus we get rid of the little dead zones that I was having. Probably going to get rid of that, I'm sure. I'm sure that ESC's got more to do with that than anything else. What would happen is I would be trying to go and you'd have to hit the trigger a couple times to make it kind of move. So we'll see. I'm also going to do a speed test with this motor setup on a 3-cell, and then once we put the Fusion in there and see how fast it is as well. The only other thing we're going to install this week is going to be the Team KNK hardware 25% overdrive gear set in the transmission. Supposedly this is supposed to fit in this transmission. I've heard it does. We're going to see. So I'm going to tell you if it fits or not. We'll know. Basically, these 2 gears are still in this unit because they said you could take your overdrive from your Stealth X transmission and put it in the XF. Now, all the rest of the gears in there are different, of course, but this is the one that's the same. So we're going to put these in there to give us 25% overdrive in the front. That's great for doing comp stuff. It allows the front wheels to spin faster than the back wheels. Theoretically, what we're doing with this one here is slowing down the rear wheels and making the front wheels still go the same speed it was going before. So the way it goes is the front wheels will spin 25% faster than the back wheels will spin, and that actually gives you more front grip, so it will help you get over obstacles. That's the idea behind it, is what it'll do. So this is going to be probably a long one, so I would sit back. I'm only going to show you, I'm probably not even going to show you how to install the hexes. Everybody should know how to do that. It's not hard to do. You can go watch some of my past videos. I show how to do that on all of those. The only thing I will tell you with these Integi ones is you have to use the wheel pins that it comes with. Elements pins are a little bit longer than every other truck for whatever reason. So use the ones that come in the packaging. Also has little set screws. Use those as well because it locks the hex down onto the shaft. That's what you want. But just to get rid of the plastic hexes, that's what you got to do. So everything else is going to take a little bit of time. Motor install shouldn't be that bad. Transmission install, I'm going to show you how to take the transmission out of the truck. That's about it. I may show you how to install the gears. I'm going to show you how to install the gears in the transmission once I figure out if that's how that's going to work or not. So hang tight and we'll get to it. All right, so I'm going to try and figure out how to do this the quickest way so you guys don't have to sit here and watch a 30-minute video. But quick points will be to remove motor wires from ESC to motor. Take the 4 bolts out of the motor plate. Excuse me, you take the 4 bolts here out of the transmission. This actually holds this little plastic piece on that covers and makes the motor plate tight. You'll see when I take this off here. I'm doing it by hand right now because I don't want to make a bunch of noise. Those bolts don't have to come all the way out either, as it stays threaded into the this top piece here. So see, those 4 bolts just stay screwed into that. Move it out of the way. Just pick the motor up and it's bolted to the plate. Pinion, this is kind of a spur, but not really. The spur's actually down here. But all metal, of course bushings, not a big deal there. 48 pitch gearing. All we're going to do is debolt this here, take this off, and then just put the fusion in it, and that's it. We're going to move it out of the way because we're going to remove this also. Also, I'm going to show you we're going to take this off. I'm not going to show you how to do that. That's just double-sided tape. You just peel it off, unbolt it from the receiver, and that's pretty much it. And then it'll be going out of the way. I'm probably just going to unbolt it from this plate because this plate houses this little receiver plug connector so you can plug up lights and stuff like that. And we're not worried about that anyway. All right, so I removed that plate. It's just 4 bolts on the bottom of this side plate here. Comes out all in one piece. Like I said, it's got wires coming out of the ESC that go into this little plate here. That'll be for sale on the website for too long, so pay attention if you want one. Now, let's take this out here. First, I'm going to remove the pinion gear here. It's 1.5 mil. It is super tight with some good Loctite on there. Loosen that up. Loosen the motor plate. It's got 2 screws that hold that on. Good Lord, that's going to be tight. Good thing about it is you're going to use the same pinion, so you can probably just reuse the same holes where it was mounted so you can get the pinion just right on everything. That's the way to do it there. Try to mimic where it was at before. It's not always the case, but most of the time that's the case. Get you a big flathead screwdriver and pry this thing off of here. There we go. Got that off. Motor, just move it out of the way. No big deal there. Take your fusion, try to figure out how this sits in here like this. This is over on this side, of course. So hold it, figure out where you want your wires to go, and then just try and figure out where your motor will bolt down. So you know, the factory bolts that hold the motor plate onto the motor are too long for a fusion. I found some smaller length fathead ones. I think they're 2.5 mil though, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. Can't really be too upset about that because you got to just find something that works. I'm going to stick my wires are going to point up. Yeah, that's going to work there for sure. It does suck that they're 2.5, but you know, it is what it is. All right, let's get that lined up there. Now, I am not going to put thread locker on this pinion gear screw, mainly because I want to be able to change it easy down the road. And that's it there. And then the first thing you want to do, of course, you want to make sure it fits, because you got to make sure you got room, and you do. There's plenty of room in there between the pinion and the plate. That's what you want to make sure that you got room for that. All right, now that that's out of the way, we're going to remove the transmission from the truck. First thing you need to do is go ahead and remove the drive shaft screws out of it. The biggest problem is the front one here is so tight that you cannot remove it from the deal, or from the output shaft. But only 4, I think it's just 4 bolts. So there's a bolt here, 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 and here, and that whole unit should just come out. We're going to try it and see. Oh, there's 3 screws. There's 5 screws. I'm sorry. There's one more right here in the middle. I did not see that. That was hidden. All right, so now that the front output shaft still has the drive shaft on it, so you just pick up. Oh. Okay then. Not what I expected to see at all. All right, so it looks like the motor goes in, spur goes through. There's a gear here. It touches that gear, and that's it. And that's how it moves everything. Okay, well, no overdrive today. So in order to put overdrive in this truck, I did not realize this. You can have the overdrive pieces. The big gear goes here, the little gear goes here, but you have to have a cross pin for that. That's not a big deal. I had that. But you have to have this outdrive metal piece that screws into the actual overdrive piece. It screws into that, and that's what will hold it in its place right here. I do not have that. I did not realize that I had to have that. I thought it was in here. I thought it had just these gears, you know, like all the rest of them do, because it's 1-to-1 right now, meaning the front and the rear spin at the same speed. It sucks anyway. You get to see how this comes apart. My mistake, my mess up. I should have paid a little bit more attention to that, but I did not know. So I'm going to put this back together and be right back with you. All right, so now that that's done and put back together, I'm just going to throw this back in here where it's supposed to go, mainly because we don't, I still got to put the drive shaft on there, but not a big deal there. So I'm going to move the battery out of the way, the switch out of the way. I'm going to put this receiver, or I'm going to put this wire in first, only because, you know, the servo is going to change here for too long. So we got to make sure it's able to be taken out first, you know, make it quicker that way. Push that down all the way if you can, as far as you can. Cool, that's in there. I can move that if I need it. That's good. Push the servo wire down. Maybe. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Cool. That'll work there. Always plug in the ESC, which this is all in one, in channel 2. And that's it on that. All right, let's place the cover back on this here. All right, I got all that back together. I'm going to figure out what to do with the switch. I don't really know yet. It'll probably go right in here inside of this. I'll fold these wires up some way and zip tie them to something, and then I might put it over here on this side. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Not worried about that right now. But the battery should have enough room. Battery plug should be able to plug in. No problems there. So let's get to the hexes. We'll do one here and I'll show you how to do it, and then that's it. I'm not going to show you the rest of them. It's fairly simple. Unbolt wheel. Take the wheel off. Hold that there. You got to get you a tiny flathead screwdriver because there's not enough room in there to pry this thing off. Pry off the plastic one, remove the metal one. Take your hex, cross pin, and then one little set screw. I'm going to move this to where it's more, there we go. center. Put that in. That's in there. And that's it. That's all you really got to do. And then put this set screw in there. Mainly just to hold things in place. It doesn't really ever go anywhere, but just to make sure. Put wheel back on. Nut back on. The only downside of this is it does make it where this nut does not have a lot of nylon contact, but you can crank it down. It shouldn't go anywhere. You should be nut checking anyway every time you do something. Every time before you go out riding anyway, you should be checking that stuff anyway. So I'm gonna get these other two done, and then we'll discuss totals and figure out what to do with this overdrive situation. Dude, this slow control of this thing is ridiculous. All the speed. All right, so got to kind of see how to install a Fusion. Going to show you how to do the overdrive, but apparently I didn't know what I was doing to begin with, so I got to figure out what I got to get. I'm still going to total that into this. I'll do a separate video how to install overdrive in your Sendero SE. I'll just do that. It'll still count, but I'm still going to count the money towards this, and then whatever I spend to make this fit, I'll add it in to the following week or whenever I get it. So this week we started out with $211.21. After last week we had $136 left over, so it rolled over with $75. Spent $12.99 on the Hexes, $23.99 on the Overdrive, and $149.99 on the Fusion system. That let us, we have $24.24 left over to go over to next week. So we won't spend all that next week either as well. But I see, like I was saying with the Hexes, they do really push the wheel out, which is not a bad thing. It gives a little bit more stability with these narrow tires. It kind of pushes it out a little bit. I think that's a good thing. We still got plenty of room. I think we're going to rub in the back here if we ever get into a situation. I think it's going to rub the body, which we'll just take some Lexan scissors to them and just kind of trim out the fender wells a little bit if we need to. No big deal there. But overall, I like this truck. I like where I'm headed with it. Like what we're doing. I hope you guys enjoy it as well. I hope you're following along and want to build something similar to this. You don't have to use what I'm using, but you know, I'm trying to go a cheap way to do this without spending, you know, $1,000 or whatever like we did. The last budget build wound up being a whole bunch of money. This one's not going to be cheap per se, but it's going to be cheaper than normal. And I'm not trying to put the super high-end stuff in it, even though the Fusion Pro is kind of high-end, but we would have spent $90 on a 1080 and then a decent Holmes motor anyway, so, or right at $100. So spend $50 more and get a brushless system all in one unit as well, put all the weight to the front, that kind of deal. So it'll work. We'll see how it goes. So thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next week.